Let's make our blocks mineable and add custom loot tables to Minecraft. Alright, my friends, I'm back on the channel once more, and in this tutorial we're going to be adding a custom loot table to Minecraft, and this basically will enable us to mine our blocks, and they will actually drop themselves or whatever we basically choose for them to drop. Now for this we will be using loot tables, which is a special type of JSON file. Now this will actually go into the resources folder and then inside of a new folder called data. Now inside of here we need to make another new directory called tutorial mod. So this is the actual name of our mod ID. And then inside of there, we want to make another directory called loot_tables. And then inside of there, last but not least, we want a blocks directory. Now, it's extremely important that this directory is written correctly. And you have data, tutorial mod, loot_tables, and then blocks, this time in plural. And when it comes to loot tables, they can be quite complicated. So let's just first of all create a new file over here. And that's going to be the black_opal_block.json. Now, for the sake of argument, I will be actually copying over the JSON file, the contents of it, but I will show you two great resources that you can use. So first of all, this is the JSON file. Now, this is one of the ones that is actually not too complicated, if you could believe it. So we're basically going to have one pool in this case, and then we're going to do one role, and then it chooses one of those entries. In this case, we only have one entry, so it is always going to drop a black block. Now, the two resources, number one is going to be MacLeod GitHub.io right here, and that is the loot table generator, linked in the description below, and that is absolutely amazing because right here on the left, you can basically define like whatever you want. You can, for example, see, well, what does role mean? Well, the amount of entries that are randomly chosen. So if you're like, oh, well, I want 2 of them, then you can see 2 stones will actually be dropped. I'm like, I actually don't want 2 stones to be dropped. I actually just want 1 stone to be dropped. I actually don't want a stone to be dropped. I actually want tutorial mod black_opal_block to be dropped, and it can even deal with this. It just will basically not display the texture because, of course, it doesn't have the texture in this case. But yeah, you can add different entries. You can even add different functions right here, right? So you can set the count, you can set the damage, you can add enchantments. All of this craziness is available to you. I highly recommend looking at this, and then you can just copy it from here. Or alternatively, and this is probably even one of the better ones, under the external libraries, what you can do is you can go down all the way to, let me just find it, client extra 119.3 or whatever your version might be, going to data, Minecraft, and then right here in the loot tables, blocks, you have all of the loot tables from every single block that is in vanilla. Everything is available here. So for example, right, like how does coal ore drop? Well, it drops like this, which we're actually going to see in just a moment because we also have some ore. So everything is available here. So, you know, anything that you might want to do, you can basically look up at either the external libraries or generate stuff via MacLeod.io. And with that, I'm actually going to copy over the remaining 4 files over here for the ores. And you can see they are pretty much exactly the same as the coal ore, right? Because, of course, when you have an ore, the first thing you want to check for is, hey, does the actual tool that the player uses have silk touch on it? And if it does, then we're actually dropping the actual block itself, and if not, then we're going to drop the raw black opal. And here we can see we also apply a bonus if in this case a fortune enchantment is present. So once again, highly recommended to check out both MacLeod as well as the vanilla loot tables. Now, we're not done just yet because right now these blocks, right, all of the blocks that we've basically added, they still don't know with what type of tool they can be harvested with. And for that, we actually need another folder inside of the data folder, and that is going to be called Minecraft. You might have heard of that before. And inside of there, we want another directory called tags. And then inside of there, we want another directory called blocks. And then we want one last directory, and that one is going to be called mineable. Oh, that is not how you write it. You write it like this, mineable. Right, now I will be copying over the JSON files. Now that's, of course, all available to you in the description below in the GitHub repository. And let's just copy them over so you can see the mineable has 4 different JSON files. axe.json, hoe.json, pickaxe.json, and shovel.json. And then inside the blocks folder, very important, not inside of the mineable folder, we have 3 different JSON files, and that is the needs diamond tool JSON file, the needs iron tool JSON file, and the stone tool. Now, if we look in the pickaxe one, I already prepared all of the different blocks in there, right? So those are all of the different blocks in here. So all of them can be mined with a pickaxe. That should make sense, right? And then if we don't define them, they can be mined with wood and anything above. However, if we do define them, for example, in the iron one, then in this case, the black opal ore and the deep slate black opal ore can only ever be mined with iron tools or above. That is the general idea. And then, for example, if we just were to, let's say, duplicate this and just add it right here. Then we can, for example, say, hey, this is endstone and netherrack, maybe. So we're going to add netherrack right here. So those can then only be mined with diamond or above. So that would be the general idea. I know people are going to ask, well, what about if I want my blocks to only be mineable with netherite? Well, we can actually add that as well. And that is under the data folder. We actually want to make another new directory called forge. And then instead of here, once again, tags. Instead of there, we want blocks again. Instead of here, we want a new file called needs_netherite_tool.json. And then we can just copy this in this case. And then let's just say that the endstone one can only be mined with netherite. And then this can be mined with diamond. Normal and deep state one can be mined with this. And then the block can actually be mined with wood as well. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, that should in theory work all like that. And that is actually all that we need to do. However, it is pretty important that you have all of those tags set up correctly. Otherwise, it will not work. And then you do need to add, if you add another block that could be mined by the shovel, then you want to add it here as well. Another very important note, if you add things to these tags and they have a typo in there somewhere, right? So for example, I have a typo right here. Now, if this is the case, the entire tag will no longer work. This means that the needs iron tool JSON file is completely void and it does not work. So neither your custom entries nor the entries from vanilla will work. So please keep in mind to check and double check this for any typos, and then also make sure to not reference any blocks that are not yet existent. But once you've done this, well, we can go into the game and see if it works. All right, so we find ourselves back in Minecraft again, and in theory, first of all, we should go into survival mode. That's a pretty important step over here. Now, the reason this might take a little bit longer is because, of course, it's a wood pickaxe, but you can see I can mine it and the block drops. Now, let's continue along. I believe this is stone. No, we don't have anything with stone. You can see this is why it takes so long, right? We basically can't mine it with it. But this one should work. So iron for this, and it does. And then iron for this should not work, question mark? It does. I have to double check this. However, this should not work. And you can clearly see this does not work. However, with diamond, it should also not work. However, with netherite, it should work. And it does. And we can actually double check this, right? Let's just keep this going. And it should not drop anything if I do it with a diamond pickaxe. And as you can see, it does not work. This one should work with a diamond pickaxe, but nothing else, or an above basically, so iron will not work. It takes a little bit longer, and it does not drop anything. However, netherite will work, because it always is the needs X tool and above, right? So if we say it needs the diamond tool, then it's the diamond tool and everything above it. But that is pretty awesome indeed. Now the blocks drop something, and you can define what type of tool things can be dropped with. There you go, it is right. Both the deep slate as well as the black opal ore are able to be mined with iron, so that was all fine. And that would be it for this tutorial right here. I hope you found this useful and you learned something new. I'll see you all in the next tutorial. So yeah.